So that next week, the sheriff sends a, I guess, higher than investigator, I don't know, lieutenant, somebody over there who's over internal affairs to take a statement. And they, come to my law office and set up in the conference room. My husband goes in, I go in. I think we started off together. He kind of explained what he was doing, and and we went above and beyond in terms of the information we gave him, trying to reaccount it. And I will say it was a lesson in going through a traumatic event, because there is a blur that can occur. And so, but we gave him our statements, and he left and said the sheriff would be in contact with us. So then he's like, well, I'm going to need to talk to all the softball parents. And I think he does, because then there's a group text, of course, rec sport group text. Good God. Yes. So they're, oh, we called my job. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? He was crazy. Whoa. So, we're all unpacking it together in real time. And apparently he goes and he speaks to whoever he needed to speak to on the softball field. So any of the witnesses and any of the parents that were able to see it. And at this point, I think a couple parents had emailed either county commissioners or the sheriff himself, because, a lot of people were like, this is insane. He was screaming and acting a fool out here. I mean, it was nutty, right? I mean, it had the attention of like 200 people. I mean, it stopped an entire game, a well-attended game. All the stands on each side were full. I mean, there were tailgate chairs throughout the sections. So, I mean, there were a bunch of people that witnessed this insane behavior. So a couple weeks go by, and we get a letter from the sheriff. And, it's on the letterhead, and I'm going to put the letter up right there for you to read. So you can read it for yourself. You can pause it and do what you need to do. And the letter basically said, hey, we started an internal affairs investigation on the 13th of May, 2023, related to an event that occurred at the softball fields of the city of Washington on the 12th of May. Now, keep in mind, a sheriff has broad discretion as to who gets to work for them. It isn't the same type of procedural due process that you would expect from, like working for the state or even a private employer in terms of being released. We've had sheriffs in this state and, in this county fire people for being related to someone that may possibly run for sheriff. They hadn't even filed yet, but they were possibly going to run for sheriff, and went ahead and, let a whole family line go. Not just one person, but like 5 people, right? That was in the last sheriff election. So there's a broad discretion that a sheriff has in terms of who they keep in their employ. And when you consider the fact that the behavior was so egregious out on that softball field, the way he was so entitled that, him being a Beaufort County Sheriff's deputy entitled him to, not have to leave, to be able to go and stay wherever he wanted, even if he'd been told by the authority on the field, which is the umpire, that he needed to leave. He surely wasn't, because he was a Beaufort County Sheriff's deputy. A Beaufort County Sheriff's deputy, right? So that, coupled with the fact that, law enforcement officers are under a lot of pressure, and a lot of what they have to do is diffuse a situation, right? We can't just go in guns blazing. Well, I mean, some people do go in guns blazing, and it's not good for anybody. It's not good for them. It's not good for the citizens. And it's not good for the Justice Department or public safety, right? Diffusing is one of their best tactical skills in law enforcement. And like I said, I was a magistrate, and I have seen these skills in real time, in real person. So, when people come in and they're drunk and they're acting a fool, and you've got a state trooper or a sheriff's deputy or a city of Washington police officer that is giving him the patience of Job, right? I mean, because these people in handcuffs sometimes will be like cussing, fussing, talking about their mama. I mean, straight talking trash to them. I mean, ugly as can be. I mean, half fighting with them, all the way fighting with them sometimes. And they're just, calm, like little robots, calming them down. All right, ma'am, sit down. Have a seat, ma'am. Have a seat, ma'am. Have a seat, ma'am. And I'm like, I would have lost it by now. I tell you what, it's a good thing I'm not in that position, because I'd been done. But that's part of the role, right? That's the public safety part, is the diffusing and the calming down, not being part of the action. I mean, this Beaufort County Sheriff's deputy at the softball field, I mean, he wasn't anyone I would care to be around, let alone having in a intense situation. My goodness. Yeah. And just the entitlement and the privilege that he's screaming that he's in some role that makes him better than anybody else out there at that field. I mean, I don't want him with evidence. I don't want him in charge of, going to a magistrate and testifying to facts. Absolutely not. So in the letter, it alleged that at the end of the investigation, his office, the sheriff's office, found that this deputy was, in fact, found to be in violation of their personnel policy and their standards of conduct. And one of those was ethics, right? I'm going to read what the sheriff cited that this deputy had been found at the basis of their investigation to have violated. Using or disclosing one's status as a member of the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office in a way that could reasonably be perceived as an attempt to gain influence or authority for non-business or activity. Now listen, do you think if someone is willing to use their authority to gain influence for a non-business activity, that they're likely to do that for actual business activities? I've got my opinion. I sure do. The other policy that the deputy was found to, after the investigation, to have violated is related to conduct. And that was two different aspects of the conduct regulations. The first reads as the following: discourteous, disrespectful, or discriminatory treatment of any member of the public or any member of this office or of the county. And then the second, any other on or off duty conduct which any member knows or reasonably should know is unbecoming of a member of this office, is contrary to good order, efficiency, or moral, or tends to reflect unfavorably upon this office or its members. Now, I think the way I was treated was criminal, right? But at a minimum, discourteous. I would say we achieved discourteous. When he grabbed my tailgate chair with his hands, he put his face in mine. He made it so I couldn't leave, right? I had to stay there in the chair. I was trying to get away as best I could, but he kept getting closer and closer, right? I think at a minimum, him screaming, raising his hand up at me is discourteous, right? Right. What he did to my dad, discourteous. What he did to the other parents, discourteous. What he did to his own child, discourteous. You're causing such a ruckus at again, an 8U girls softball game that they have to shut the game down to tend to your bad behavior, right? Stop the game. The 8-year-old girls softball game to come over and basically tell you to leave. And then, again, because you're entitled, right? You're a Beaufort County Sheriff's deputy. Then you start to fight with them, the umpires, and say they don't have the authority to have you leave. So yeah, at the minimum, discourteous. And on the second prong of that, it is definitely contrary to good order. I mean, he caused a disruption, a mayhem. I mean, he was out there acting a pure fool in front of children, in front of the people that he is, supposedly sworn to serve. Might want to check that oath one more time, right? Yeah, but this is him. This is his behavior. Again, on a Friday night, we're out here on a beautiful spring day where everybody's getting a trophy. He's fussing and having a whole fit over somebody telling his mama basically to jump out of their conversation. Because again, I didn't go up to his mama. Nobody went up to his mama. His mama came over here. And again, try to set me straight, give me the right story. I didn't ask for the story from you, ma'am. No. So, yeah, but all she was told was, move along. This is not your conversation. Because, again, she's elderly. I'm not going to be disrespectful to elderly folk unless, again, they start coming disrespectful to me, and then we might have to get there. But I was in front of my mother and my mother-in-law, so I'm not one to jump right into showing my tail in front of those two women, okay? Because truth be told, I'm still scared of my mama, all right? She'll get you. She'll get me. She might not get you, but she'll get me real quick. And my mother-in-law, I don't want her thinking her son married somebody that wasn't deserving of him, right? So, yeah. So the sheriff closes the letter with, deputy has received a disciplinary action as a result of his actions. As the elected sheriff, these actions of deputy does not reflect the vision of my office, nor does it represent the expected behavior of my deputies. Well, the reality is, it was the expected behavior of your deputies because it was the behavior of your deputies. And now you know that you can expect that from that deputy, right? At this point, this is what he's done. You admitted in the letter that's what he's done. You acquiesced to that. And you even go so far as to tell me on 3 different ways he's violated your standard of conduct, right? But he stays.